Hi everybody, welcome to the channel. I got a follow-up video today on a recent firearm that I got, the P226 XFIVE Legion. Did an unboxing video on this. If you haven't seen that, go ahead and check that out. But this is sort of a follow-up video to that, and it's going to really just focus on the trigger. Trigger's a big part of why you would purchase this firearm. I think the P226 is a great series. It's battle tested, it's proven, it's a great firearm in and of itself. The German models were fantastic at the master shop, you know, and this really is a part of bringing that back here to the US. They started with the classic XFIVE in the tactical version of the XFIVE a year ago, and 4 months ago they came out with this Legion version of that. So the trigger in those firearms, the XFIVE firearms, it's phenomenal. It's very much customizable to the user. So I wanted to really just focus on that here today. So before we get started, if you don't mind, I ask if you guys could please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Anything you do with that, showing activity on the site, watching the videos, share them, comment. It goes into the algorithm and really promotes my channel, allows me to get this content out to more and more folks. All right, the more that happens, the more I can do, and I really appreciate that. So, all right, enough of that. Now let's kind of get down into it. So, all right, so I've got the Wheeler. I've also got the Wheeler wrenches. I've got my Wheeler gauge, my trigger pull gauge, and what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this, and we're going to see how this comes straight out of the box from the factory. Okay. All right. So I got the Wheeler out. First thing we're going to do is make sure we have a safe firearm. We have an empty magazine, and we have clear firearm. There's nothing in the barrel. Mag is out. We're good. Okay. We're going to do that again. Look away. Okay. We have a safe firearm. All right. Okay. Now we're at 0. If you guys can see that. Okay. So let's get some single action trigger pulls. 3 pounds, 3.8 ounces. I didn't pull in the right spot. Yeah, 3 pounds, 2.0 ounces. We'll just go ahead and do 2 more. Okay. 3 pounds, 1.6. And the last one, the 5th one, 3 pounds, 4.0. Okay, so we're looking at 3 pounds, 3.1 ounces is the average trigger pull right now out of the box. 3 pounds, 3.1 ounces. Okay, not bad. That's a very good trigger. All right, but we're gonna see if we can make this better. Okay, so as I talked about a little bit, hit briefly in the unboxing video, this is a 4-way adjustable trigger, not a 3-way, it's a 4-way, okay? So what you see in front of you right here is the actual trigger shoe adjustment. This trigger shoe, this flat face trigger shoe, that could be moved forward or it could be moved to the rear, depending on where the user wants to have that trigger shoe, right? So it's if you need some more room because you have bigger fingers, you can move it back. If you're wearing gloves, you're shooting in cold weather, you can create more space here. So you can move that forward and backward, all right? And I believe it's a 2.5 mil, yeah, 2.5 millimeter. With a 2 millimeter, all right, there's also an adjustment for the weight. So the trigger weight adjustment is here, okay? In the front of the firearm. The reset is underneath here, okay? And then inside the firearm, okay, there's an adjustment here for pre-travel, another 2mm, right? So there you have the adjustment for your pre-travel. So what we're gonna do is, we're gonna go through all of these adjustments, and we're gonna try to get this trigger as dialed in as best we can, right? So we'll try to get the lightest trigger pull, and we'll try to get the shortest reset and the shortest pre-travel, and the lowest trigger weight. All right, so we're gonna go through that and see what we come up with. All right. Okay, so we're gonna go with the 2mm Allen wrench. Okay, and we're gonna back this out as far as we can. And you don't want to go too far. Okay. That's it. So I stop there. There you go. It's about as far as I can go. All right. So when you do that, you just have to make sure if it's backed out as far as it can go, so it's the lightest the trigger can be, okay? You want to make sure that this pin that the takedown lever sits on top of can actually move, okay? And I can't get this in all the way, okay? So what I want to do is I want to go over here to this adjustment, okay? And I want to bring it back in about a half a turn. And let's see if I can, yep, see, now I can move it. Now I can move it in both ways, so it's good. So now I might be able to dial it in a little more because I might have went too much. So let's go a quarter turn. Yeah, I'm still good. Okay. Let's go another quarter turn. No, I can't go in. All right, so you just got to play with it a little. Go in and out. Don't overturn this to where you back it out too far. You get to the point where you start coming in contact with things internally to the firearm, and you want to be careful that you don't do that. So use this pin as an example, I'm sorry, as a limit as to how far you can go. So I backed it out as far as I could. As soon as I hit resistance, I stopped. And then I started dialing it in until I could move this pin freely in both directions. So that's out all the way, and then I push it in, and it's sticking here. So I can move this pin freely. And that's the lightest trigger pull, okay? So now what I'm gonna do is, let's take a look and see what we dropped the trigger weight down to. Okay, here we go. We're all reset. Two pounds, 14.2 ounces. Two pounds, 14.6 ounces. 2 pounds, 12.6 ounces. 2 pounds, 14.4 ounces. And we'll do one more. 3 pounds. So we're looking at like 2 pounds, 13.0 ounces is what we got this trigger weight down to. So that's about a, what were we, 3 pounds, 3.1 ounces. So we dropped this about almost half a pound. So we almost dropped this to about half a pound from factory. Now, I don't know where this was set originally from factory. It's somewhere in the middle. It wasn't as heavy as it could be, because I think the heaviest is somewhere around 4 pounds, something like this. But we're able to get about a half a pound off of this trigger now, and it's sitting at about just under 3. This is just under a 3 pound trigger. All right. So let's move to the reset now. Okay. All right, so we're going to go from underneath the firearm. Okay. Bring this in. Okay, go here. All right, and I can't do anything with this. All right, so it's in too far. Okay, so now we know that the trigger's in too far, and we got to start backing it out. Okay. All right, so let's back it out a quarter turn. Nothing. Okay, so what we can do, back it out another quarter turn. No, quarter turn. All right. All right, that's pretty good. So, got a pretty good reset here. Excellent. Okay. All right, now we could take a look at the trigger shoe and see if I can back that off a little bit. So, there we go. All right, now you don't have to take the screw all the way out. SIG guy has a very, very good video in his all-inclusive video on this. So if you're interested too, go check him out. He's got a really good video on this firearm, setting this up, the trigger. All right. And I forget how many inch-pounds the torque setting is on this. I think it's like 15 inch-pounds. That's excellent. Look at that trigger. That's absolutely beautiful. I'll get rid of the pre-travel. Well, I haven't made that adjustment yet. But once you hit the wall, it just breaks. All right, so now let's take a look at back. All right, you can put that down, and there you go. All right. Okay, so now just in front of the locking block, okay, you're gonna see another adjustment screw. It's gonna be right here, right in front of the locking block and behind the takedown lever. And that's gonna be your pre-travel, okay? All right, so the more you screw that in, the less pre-travel you're gonna get. So right now, what's very important is I have the hammer cocked back because I just moved the slide back to take the slide off. So the hammer is back. What you want to be careful of, as you start bringing that screw in, all right, it's going to get to a point where what it's essentially doing is it's pushing the trigger back. And if you push it in too far, it will actually release the hammer and fire. All right, so that's the point. And then it will not reset at that point because the trigger's too far back. All right, so then what you want to do is you want to back the screw back out. All right, so I'm going to keep my thumb on the hammer, okay, and then I'm going to turn this in, and you can see the trigger moving. See the trigger moving? All right, so I got my finger on the hammer. It's going back, okay. It just released. There it is. It just released, okay? So now I know that's too far, okay? So now I'm gonna back off this half turn, okay? I'm off at a half turn, cock the hammer back, it stays back, okay? So I'm gonna put the slide on. Now remember, things are gonna change when the slide goes back on. You're changing the dynamics of this. Make sure the safety lever's down. Make sure that safety lever's down. Okay. Okay. It actually worked. It's pretty good. Okay. I'm actually gonna dial it back just a little bit more. Okay. Just to be on the safe side. Okay, because there's one more thing that I want to make sure you guys see. Okay. All right. So, see how I could fire that? I got the safety on. Safety is on all the way up, and I can fire that. No good. No bueno. No bueno. Okay? So, what you want to make sure when that safety's on, you got to see a little bit of the Cerakote right there. All right? So, what's happening is this trigger is too far in. It's too far back this way. All right? And this is actually a good example. If you look at my Wheeler Allen set, as I'm pushing the trigger back, look what it's doing here, all right? So there are parts in the gun that might pivot around one point, and yes, the trigger's going back to give you a better pre-travel, but there's also things going on internally to the firearm that are affecting other areas in the firearm itself, all right? And in this case, it's the safety. So what do we gotta do? We gotta back this out, okay? Okay, and it's in too far. So now we got to go back here and we got to bring this back out a little bit more. Okay. Do another half turn. See if we got it. All right, so see the difference? There you can see the Cerakote there. There's a little bit of Cerakote that you can see. All right, and let's take the safety off. We can shoot it. We can shoot it. Let's put the safety. Okay, let's put the safety on. Okay, can't shoot it. Safety off, can shoot it. So we're in a good spot. There's a tiny bit of pre-travel right there. Okay. But we got to live with that, okay? Because we got to make sure the safety works, all right? You got to be very careful because that's not intuitive, okay? If you get to a place where you're trying to take all of the pre-travel out and you forget this, you could be in a situation where you think your safety's on and it's not, and that turns this into a very dangerous weapon. It could be in your holster, you know, God forbid in the appendix position, and you tuned your trigger to be so light, all right, with no pre-travel, that this firearm could potentially discharge, right, very easily. So anyway, that would be my suggestion. Okay. All right, let's do another check on this. All right. Okay, gauge is clear. 2 pounds, 11.9 ounces. We're going to enter that one. Three pounds, 0.7 ounces. £2, 14.9 ounces. 2 pounds, 15.5 ounces, and we'll do one more to get an average best of 5. 2 pounds, 9.3 ounces, for an average of 2 pounds, 13.7 ounces. So we are under a 3 pound trigger, okay? So we're under a 3 pound trigger, okay? We got awesome reset, brakes just past 90, and not much pre-travel at all. Very, very nice trigger. Short reset, not a lot of pre-travel, not a lot of take up, just very, very good trigger. Really, really happy with that. Okay, so just to summarize, right? We took a factory X5 Legion and we adjusted the trigger 4 ways to try to get it from about a 3 1/4 pound trigger, 3.31 pound trigger. That's 3 pounds, 3.1 ounces. Made some adjustments to get that down to a 2 pound, 13.13 ounce trigger. We brought the shoe back to give us as much room as we can in the actual trigger guard. We adjusted the pre-travel and we adjusted the reset. So we did all 4 of those things to come up with what I think is probably, you know, the lightest, shortest reset type competition trigger you can get. Now, if you're going to carry this, you're probably going to set this up differently, but that's the beauty of this firearm. You can do that, right? You can increase it to probably a 4 1/2 pound trigger, and you could move the to put a bunch of pre-travel in. There's a lot of things you can do, right? But the takeaways really here are: be careful when you're doing the trigger weight, which is in front. If you go too far and you pull it out too far, this pin should be your test, all right? Only adjust it back far enough to take as much of the weight out as you can, all right, with this pin being able to move freely this way and that way. So that's one. Number 2, when you're doing the pre-travel adjustment from inside the firearm, be cognizant of the fact that your hammer could go off while you're adjusting it, because when you're adjusting that in, you're actually moving your trigger back. You're pulling the trigger essentially. So keep your thumb on the trigger. Once that trigger goes, then start backing it off, okay, to the point where it holds, all right? Then put your slide back on, okay, and see if it can still fire. If it can, test your safety, okay? Make sure you can see that space in the safety. If you can't, then you got to back it out until you can see a good space in the safety, all right? So, I mean, that's really it. That's the adjustment. As I learn more, I'll continue to share that with you guys. You know, the next thing that I plan on doing is I'm going to be looking at the optic plate or the sight here, and potentially the optic plate that could be needed here. I got some things on order that I'm going to go through next time. So this is really just part 2 of a series of videos associated with the X5 Legion. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, if you would please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a comment, share the video. All that helps. So I really appreciate that. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.